Let's say you have a coolant leak on your VW Passat, CC, Tiguan, Golf, etc., etc. A very common one, if not the water pump, because the water pump is very common, is this rear coolant outlet housing. And maybe I'll show you how to do this water pump on the front one. It'll have to be tomorrow because the junkyard's almost closed. But you don't need to take off. It might be easier because you could just address your oil leak right here anyway, because if you don't have an oil leak here, you might eventually have one there. It's not hard to do, but right below that we got this rear coolant outlet housing. And actually, before you bust these screws loose, it would be a good idea to get your appropriate hose clamp pliers, which I can use pretty much anything, but I prefer to use the hose clamp pliers. And we're gonna get this spring clamp off. Did you see how easy that was? And then we're gonna get my favorite tool to release the hose and stick it right up in here. See how much easier it does make it though with that, because that line would typically be right here. I'm gonna stick this right in there, go back and forth a little bit. That's probably all you need to do. Get around as much as you can, and then it should just come straight off. Now, all we gotta do is, this bottom one is a little bit difficult to get to, I agree. And so if you can see, that bottom bolt is square behind that hose. So I would prefer to not take this pipe loose. Before I take this pipe loose, because what can happen is it might not come off as easy as it came off this plastic. Is this plastic too? It is. Anyway, sometimes you can still have problems getting the pipes loose. So I'm just going to bend down on it a little bit, and all I'm doing is just flexing that hose a little bit, but that's going to be a lot more difficult to screw it in that way. So I could get it out easily. Screwing it in is another deal. We're going to try to get this hose loose and see what happens. There we go, that came off. It's hose pick time. Now see, it's not really wanting to start in there. It's got a lip on here on this plastic hose. Try to get you a good view. There we go. Got it inserted. Now I'm rolling myself around. Roll around as much as you can. And then some of the coolant in the pipe will get inserted all the way around the ridge. I don't have a whole lot to work with here. So I'm just going to use a standard pry bar, and I'm going to kind of push a little bit. Being really careful not to damage the hose, but to be completely honest with you, if you're taking these hoses off, you should replace them, especially if you're at a shop and not working on your own stuff. And I could take this one off on the cooler really easily as well, but I was trying just to get this one right here loose. I'm very careful with this pick because this pick does not have a sharp edge on it. It's dull edge, I'm very careful not to poke through the hose, but if you're going to reuse the hoses, you want to inspect them. It would have really helped if I would have unclipped that plastic hose keeper right there. But like I said, I don't typically work on these VWs. And the TTs were pretty rare. With the 2.0 Ts, at least they didn't get too much work whenever I was at the dealership. They didn't get oil consumption jobs near as much. I got these bolts loose. It would be much easier to, so like I got something, for instance, like this right here. This is a T30 screwdriver, and I could just put this in right here and I wouldn't have to be wasting my fingers away. And then this fitting right here, wiggle it back and forth, side to side a little bit. There we go. Look at that thing. Look at how that thing just came out broken. And the rest of it is inside the cylinder head. So you're definitely want to get the rest of it out before you put the new one in. Give you a better look at this, how it's completely broken. So I'm going to start by using my pick, feel around in there, and I got it. There's the O-ring. O-ring came out, and here's the rest of the broken plastic. It wouldn't hurt to put a little bit of a vacuum cleaner in there because there might be a couple little specks of it still in there. But I think we'll come back tomorrow and we'll do the water pump, and we'll make a water pump video.